Every morning, across continents and cultures, billions of people begin their day in the exact same way, with a cup of coffee. It's a simple, comforting ritual, but this humble act carries with it centuries of history, mystery, and profound transformation. This is the story of how a small, unassuming bean and the caffeine locked inside it became the very heartbeat of the modern world. Our journey begins not in a bustling city cafe, but on a sun-drenched hillside in ancient Ethiopia. Legend tells of a goat herder named Kaldi. Day after day, he watched his flock, but one afternoon, he noticed something strange. His goats, usually calm and placid, were dancing with an almost frantic energy. They were leaping and prancing, full of life. Puzzled, Kaldi investigated and found them eating bright red berries from a mysterious, unfamiliar plant. His curiosity got the better of him. He decided to try the berries for himself. As the juices filled his mouth, he felt a sudden, incredible surge of alertness and energy, a feeling of clarity he had never experienced before. He wasn't just awake, he felt truly alive. In that moment, with a shepherd and his dancing goats, the very first spark of caffeine culture was ignited. Word of these magical berries spread from the highlands of Ethiopia. The beans crossed the Red Sea and made their way into the Arabian Peninsula. The drink created from them became known as kawa, which originally meant wine of the bean. But unlike wine, this beverage didn't cloud the mind, it sharpened it. It became a drink of focus, spirituality, and deep reflection, especially within Sufi monasteries, where it was used to stay awake for long nights of prayer. Soon, its popularity exploded. In cities like Mecca, Cairo, and Damascus, a new kind of social institution emerged, the coffee house. These weren't just places to drink, they were vibrant hubs of society. People from all walks of life gathered on plush carpets, surrounded by the warm glow of lanterns, to talk, listen to music, play chess, and, most importantly, exchange ideas. The coffee house became the living room of the city, and kawa was the fuel for its conversations. By the 17th century, this wine of Araby had finally reached the shores of Europe, and its arrival would change everything. The continent, which had long been steeped in a culture of alcohol consumption from morning till night, was introduced to a beverage that did the opposite of beer and wine. Instead of dulling the senses, coffee stimulated them. Coffee houses sprang up in London, Paris, and Vienna, quickly earning the nickname penny universities. For the price of a single cup of coffee, anyone could enter and listen to the greatest minds of the age. These establishments became buzzing centers of intellectual life. Writers, scientists, merchants, and philosophers gathered around wooden tables. Surrounded by flickering candlelight, their conversations fueled by sip after sip of the dark, bitter brew. It was in these very coffee houses that revolutions in thought and soon in politics began to simmer. The rise of coffee coincided perfectly with one of the most transformative periods in human history, the Age of Enlightenment. Thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Isaac Newton were frequent patrons of coffee houses. Unlike alcohol, which could lead to drunken debates and fuzzy thinking, coffee sharpened the mind, encouraged rational thought, and promoted clarity. It became the official drink of the intellectuals, the perfect companion for long hours of writing, experimenting, and debating the very nature of science, politics, and human rights. This quiet, unassuming beverage had powerful, world-changing consequences. It helped shape the very foundations of modern science, democracy, and innovation. The world was waking up in more ways than one. As the demand for coffee skyrocketed in Europe, the bean began a new journey, this time across the globe. European powers, realizing the immense economic potential, began establishing vast coffee plantations in their colonies. The plant traveled from the Middle East to Asia, with plantations popping up in places like Java and Sumatra. Then it crossed the Atlantic to the Americas, finding a new home in the fertile soils of Brazil, Colombia, and the Caribbean. Coffee quickly transformed from a cultural curiosity into one of the world's most valuable and traded commodities, second only to oil for much of modern history. A simple bean, discovered by a goat herder, was now driving global economies, creating fortunes, and shaping international trade routes. Over the next 2 centuries, the role of the coffee shop continued to evolve. In the 19th and 20th centuries, cafes in cities like Paris and Vienna became the favored hangouts for the artistic and literary avant-garde. They were no longer just for intellectual debate. They were sanctuaries for creativity. Artists like Picasso and Van Gogh sketched on napkins. Writers like Hemingway and Sartre penned masterpieces, and dreamers of all kinds gathered to connect, reflect, and find inspiration. The café became a cultural hub, a third place between home and work. Coffee was no longer just a drink to wake you up. It had become an integral part of a lifestyle centered on art, community, and creation. So, what is it about this drink that has such a profound effect on us? The secret lies in its active ingredient, caffeine. From a scientific perspective, its mechanism is beautifully simple, yet incredibly effective. Throughout the day, a chemical called adenosine builds up in our brains, binding to receptors and signaling to our body that it's time to rest. It's what makes us feel tired. Caffeine works by cleverly blocking these adenosine receptors. It fits into them like a key in a lock, preventing adenosine from doing its job. The result, our brain doesn't get the sleepy signal. Instead, our natural stimulants, like dopamine and adrenaline, can flow more freely, leading to increased alertness, sharper focus, and that familiar temporary boost of energy. It's a tiny molecule with a massive impact on the human brain. Today, coffee is more woven into the fabric of our daily lives than ever before. It fuels our early mornings, powers us through afternoon slumps, and supports our late-night study sessions. The culture around it has diversified immensely. From a quick, powerful shot of espresso in Italy to a creamy, comforting latte art masterpiece, to a refreshing, slow-dripped cold brew on a hot day, coffee constantly adapts to fit every taste and lifestyle. It's the constant companion for students, office workers, and creatives alike. It's not just a beverage anymore. It is a shared global ritual, a moment of pause and pleasure in our busy lives, connecting billions of us every single day. So, from the dancing goats of Ethiopia to the vibrant global culture of today, coffee has traveled through centuries and across oceans to become a cherished part of our everyday lives. It has fueled revolutions, inspired art, and connected people. The next time you hold a warm mug and take that first revitalizing sip, take a moment to remember the incredible journey it took to get to you. You're not just drinking a cup of coffee. You are taking part in a rich, fascinating story that is still being written, one cup at a time. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. And let us know in the comments what's your favorite coffee ritual. Thanks for watching.